providing effective and luxurious services, holding a high level of personal presentation with excellent communication skills and boundless energy and enthusiasm. And we are going to be supported by Mr. Mahfouz. Please come. And the fireside chat, that's an interactive session on cabin crew training, why it is important and what are their responsibilities. I welcome Farah and Damayanti.
Thank you so much
Big
for
round
your
of
lovely
applause,
introduction.
By the way, I'm Farah.
And this is Damayanti here. A very, very good morning to the lovely audience, and thank you so much for a lovely introduction.
Thank you.
Farah, don't you think that was a charmed existence?
Totally charmed.
Totally. Now, does the audience here believe that this is exactly how we live and this is what we are trained for? I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is just the glamour part. And I need to ask all of you all, why are you all here today? We all share some common thing between us. Why are we all here today? Can anybody tell me?
Anyone?
Anyone? Why is the Farah here? Why is Sir Bhusa here? Why is Suresha here? Yogesh, why are we all here today?
Only one word, that is aviation, I think so.
Our love for aviation?
Yep.
We love aviation, okay. I was married to aviation, I think, not to Mr. Doctor. Okay, so the best part about aviation, it is like a love story where a prince met a common girl, fell in love, got married, and they lived happily ever after. But to live happily ever after, there is a lot that we have to go through. Is that right, Damayanti?
Absolutely. We all know we have to work on our marriages and love affairs. So we have to work on our love, which is aviation. And there's a lovely saying I have read, which says, once you've tasted flight, you will always walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward. So that is what aviation to me is. Even today, if I see an aircraft flying, my eyes just go up there. And in fact, when we were flying yesterday, coming into Delhi, I saw the cabin crew sitting right in front of me and, ready for her silent review. And every time, trust me, an aircraft takes off, I'm doing my silent review. And that is what is training. That is what just kicks in all the time. And I don't think it's any different for you, Farah. What do you say?
Not at all, not at all. I mean, we've been associated with the airline industry for over 26 years and more. I can practically say I was born and brought up by aviation. Whether we are still with aviation, whether we are not with aviation, we are what we are. I need to ask Damayanti a question. You've been with plenty of airlines. What sort of trainings did you undergo?
Well, I think the core requirement for every airline is basically same, which is being trained for any eventualities that may happen. So your safety comes first because we are first safety personnel. And whether you're training for the commercial or the corporate, since I have done, I've worked in both the industry, the core training is the same. But there is a big difference between the commercial and the corporates. In the commercial world, we have a team. We have 4, 6, 10, 20, depending on how big the aircraft is. So you have someone to rely on. But in the corporates, it is you are one-man show. So even in case of an emergency, you are carrying the weight of an aircraft. Well, by the term weight, I don't really mean how much fuel is there on the aircraft. I'm sure you understand what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the VVIPs, the CIPs, the politicians, the celebrities, and the who's who of India is on your shoulders on that day. And how you have your presence of mind and you are able to take care of the situation that may just come up out of nowhere. That is where your training should kick in. The presence of mind, that is something will come into the play when one odd day it's not your day. And that is when you prove what you're made of. That's the metal you're made of.
Very true, very true. Thank you, Damayanti.
Thank you, Farah. So, Farah, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey? How have you been here? How many years of aviation?
To start off with, like I said, I was born and brought up with aviation. As a child, I would always stand on the balcony, see an aircraft grow. It's flying, and I didn't know what the jet fuel. I used to think it's giving out or dumping for fuel, what it's called. So when I applied the first time, I was in college. Some Swiss Air opening, I just applied, no reply. Okay. Then again some opening, Air India, underweight. So I was not this when I was that time. Okay. I started my journey with Delta Airlines in 1997. I gave 9 years to Delta Airlines. A total of 12 to 14 years of commercial flying, and last 10 years was my corporate flying. Corporate flying is like a one-man army. That is the difference what Yogesh ji wants to bring into our, he wants to train the people to have the full presence of mind and to be there. Dami, thinking of the corporate lines, have you had any incidents on the aircraft?
You're talking about the commercial or the corporate?
Corporate. Commercial also, why not? Commercial. Let's go with commercial.
Well, since I have had over 2 decades, about approximately 23 years, every day is not the video that we saw. Definitely not. So yes, I have had a couple for sure. And I can remember on one of the flights, we had this passenger who was flying from Paris to Mumbai, and he was on an oxygen mask. He was traveling with a family of doctors. But we were flying over Jeddah, where we realized that we need to give him CPR. And the whole crew, the 2 crew members were primarily concentrating on the CPR, even though we had the doctors. The doctors gave the CPR, and after a while, the doctors were like, let him go. And
Dabi, what is a CPR?
CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. That is the procedure that is taught to every cabin crew in terms of when the a person stops breathing, the procedure you need to follow so that his heart starts working again.
So basically, are you trying to say that his heart had stopped working and it's now quivering? This is called quivering of the heart.
Yes.
So what's your role? You're glamorous. His heart has stopped. What is your role?
I am taught to be a doctor when the need arises. Right. I am taught to deliver on the aircraft if I have to. I am taught to be your teacher and make sure you jump out of the aircraft, and I will pull you by your hand if I have to.
So will you jump out first or let the passengers jump out first? I would jump out first and follow me. Is that easy? Follow me.
I would let my passenger jump out first.
Absolutely.
So that I can pull out someone who's left behind.
Right. So talking about your emergency, you had a CPR emergency.
Yes, I did.
Could we have a CPR video, please? For all those who do not know how a CPR is done, we're here to help you.
And if I could add in, it is very, very exhausting and intense.
These University of Louisville Medical School students are boarding a Delta plane to, nowhere actually. On this night, the plane has been turned into a cramped, single-aisle medical emergency simulation training lab.
Today we're practicing in-flight emergencies aboard an actual aircraft.
U of L is the only school in the country offering this unique training as part of a disaster medicine certificate program. On this night, medical school staff give a 45-minute lesson to the 35 students on the fake flight.
In the U.S., there's one medical emergency for every 604 flights that are taken, and odds are at some point in your flying career, you'll have to respond to some sort of overhead page that says, is there any doctor on board the flight?
Then they set up 7 stations, 7 mock emergency medical situations that might happen on a plane. Like the passenger who has a drug overdose in the bathroom. Students are told to try a dose of Narcan. That doesn't work immediately. Some oxygen.
So our overdose victim has got a pulse. He's breathing on his own from the Narcan we've given.
Students are surprised by the variety of medical supplies available on the plane and in its medical kit, like the intubation kit for the patient who's quit breathing, or the AED defibrillator for the patient suffering a heart attack and not responding to CPR.
Most kits in an emergency medical kit on most major airlines have enough stuff on board to where a patient can be stabilized traumatic injuries can be stabilized long enough to either divert to the closest airport or to carry on to your destination and have an EMS crew rendezvous with you at the gate and take them to definitive medical care.
But this isn't a hospital with endless supplies.
And you have to get creative in some of the things that you need to do in order to provide medical services in flight.
Like using one of those in-flight magazines as a split for the woman who suffered a broken leg during turbulence. Finding a sharp object to serve as a scalpel to slice open a neck and perform a tracheotomy. And then there's the passenger who's freaking out.
I think it's new. It's this new hat, this new shirt. It just itches everywhere.
With the student figuring out he's suffering from an allergic reaction and going into anaphylactic shock. He needs a shot.
All the way in.
Gets it. For these medical students, this night is an invaluable lesson.
And so something like this is really great opportunity, especially for someone like me. I'm interested in emergency medicine, and so something like this is not something we're exposed to very often.
I think it could for sure happen. I mean, we had several doctors that were actually on the plane helping us out, and it's happened to them multiple times. So hopefully it doesn't, but I definitely feel a little bit more prepared if it does.
So, thank you so much for the video. What I need to, and what I need everyone to understand over here is that if you're in a corporate cabin crew, you're alone. Your pilot is flying the plane. You're the only one who's going to do a CPR or a medical emergency. Mr. Yogesh or DAC Aviation or Mrs. Yogesh, they have a vision. They have thought, why not bring the international standards here in India? We have. I have worked very closely with Mr. Suresh Iyer, and he knows, Damayanti and I can deliver a baby on board. I can give a CPR. We've experienced things like that on board, but those were commercial. So one very small incident of death on board I was doing a Bombay to London flight. There was an 82-year-old lady for her first flying journey. She was going to visit her daughter in London. 45 minutes before landing, she had a cardiac arrest and she just stopped near the lab. She was so fragile and so thin, we didn't know whether we should give her CPR. What we have been taught, we kept doing till 45 minutes, but we lost her before she completed her first journey into London. So yes, cabin crew are trained. Cabin crew don't apply only lipsticks and wear heels. There is lots more that will go in, and I think DAC wants to do that with the cabin crew. Damayanti, would you want to add in something?
I think Farah is spot on with what she said. With our so many years of flying commercial, the kind of trainings that we've got with these international airlines is something that we can bring into our corporate. And like Mr. Busa mentioned, that these are exciting times for India in terms of in the aviation world. The number of corporate jets that are coming in now and people are flying, we need that many more trainings. When people are flying in the corporate jets, the crew that is there on the aircraft has to be well trained. So we've learned from the best, and we want to give the best back to the corporate industry that we have grown up with. So this training is exactly the starting point where we can bring in the international standards and have our corporate training cabin crew mark up to that level. So this is what we all are here for today for. And thank you so much to Yogesh and Mrs. Kitika ji to trying to bring us the vision, the planning that we have in place for next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. And we are growing, and we are going to grow on that.